conservative new media viewers and Jeremy Lin fans around the world. What's going on? It is I, Paul F. Villarreal, the NBA expert, and I wanted to make this video to talk a little bit about how conservative new media and myself covers Jeremy Lin, how we go about it, the manner in which we do it, and kind of what we do and what we don't do. Now, this is in response to a couple of comments that came in the last video that I did about Jeremy, which was earlier today, and it was talking about the JeremyLin.net, their interview with Jeremy's shot coach. And look, this isn't anything new. Some of the comments that were going on in that video aren't new ones, right? I'm used to this. I'm used to kind of taking the punches, so to speak, from both sides. From people that say I'm too easy on Jeremy, to the people that say I'm too hard on Jeremy, to the people that say I don't criticize Mikal or Harden enough, to the people that will say in places like Clutch fans or something, I criticize Mikal and Harden too much. So I just want to talk about this. One of the things that comes up in some of the comments is you'll get a comment that goes along these lines. And it'll say something like, Paul, if you were really the number one Lin fan channel, then you would do blank. And blank could mean you'd criticize Mikal more, you'd criticize Harden more, you'd stick up for Jeremy more, etc., etc., etc. And this is what I want to talk about. Now, I think most people that listen to these videos and that pay attention to the coverage that we've done of Jeremy for the last year and a half or so would say I'm a pretty objective person, and I very rarely get too high or too low in any one particular game. Now, there are exceptions to that, like the Indiana game, when I was just furious at what Coach Kevin McHale did in terms of putting Jeremy back into the game when the game was, to me, over. It just seemed like total disrespect to Jeremy, and it made me upset. However, that's not something that I'm going to do in most games, because I'm trying to believe and hold the opinion that Kevin McHale is doing the best that he's capable of doing. He's not trying to sabotage Jeremy. I don't believe he is. I think that when McHale messes up, it's because he's not a great coach. Not because he wants to deliberately interfere with Jeremy's progress. Similarly with James Harden. When James Harden screws up or doesn't pass Jeremy the ball when Jeremy's wide open, well, I could go down the path of James Harden is the worst player in the history of the NBA. He's screwing up Jeremy Lin's development, and obviously he has an agenda against Jeremy Lin. But I don't want to do that because I don't believe that. The same way that I don't believe Kevin McHale is deliberately trying to mess up Jeremy Lin. Now, look, people are allowed to have their own opinions, and we like people sharing their opinions here. We want to have differing opinions here. We're all Jeremy Lin fans, but that doesn't mean that we all think the same way. We don't all analyze the circumstances of each game identically, and that's good. It may be pretty boring if we did. There'd be no reason to make videos or to have a discussion. But even though all of that is what it is, and even though I tend to be, or try to be, pretty level-headed, pretty objective, pretty fair. Everybody's got their limits, including me, including Jeremy, including Mikhail, including Harden, including Clutch, etc., etc., etc. So you have to understand something. If people keep coming up to me, I keep writing comments saying, Paul, you're not doing this. If you were really a Jeremy Lin fan, you do this. And you're not doing this enough. You're not doing that enough. Well, at some point, I'm gonna respond to you. And at some point, I'm going to lose my patience with you. And I've talked about this in regards to Clutch before. I know how a lot of people feel about Clutch. And I understand that. I think that there's something to what they are saying about Clutch. Not because I think Clutch is bad or I think Clutch doesn't like Lin. I just think that Clutch didn't believe in Lin. And so he looks at some of the fans of Lin and thinks that they just don't know what they're talking about. Now, that's true for some Lin fans. But other Lin fans would say Clutch doesn't know what he's talking about, right? And that's fine. Like I said, that's the back and forth. But there are a number of people that go to Clutch fans, that are Jeremy Lin fans, who they only want to tell a story in a version where Jeremy Lin's the greatest player that ever lived today, and everybody else sucks, and everybody else is trying to hold Jeremy down, etc., etc., etc. Look, that's absurd. It's ridiculous. And as I said, I listen to this stuff, I tolerate it pretty well, and then I have to draw the line. And now I'm drawing the line today. People can say what they want to say and give the comments that they want to give. But I'm just going to, again, kind of restate how things go here and what we're doing. This channel, in terms of what we do for Jeremy Lin. Now, I say it's a number one Jeremy Lin fan channel, or we try to be the number one Jeremy Lin fan channel. Being the number one Jeremy Lin fan channel does not mean the number one Jeremy Lin rear end kissing channel. Right? Constantly praising somebody, only praising somebody, only putting down people who are supposedly holding down the person that you like, and criticizing them and berating them again and again and again and again isn't necessarily being a great fan. It's not. Because I would argue you're looking at things unrealistically. Jeremy is a human being playing for a human being coach and playing with human being teammates. What that means is it's not going to go perfectly every single game and every single play. And that's really important to understand. Okay? There are going to be times when Coach Mikhail screws up and he should have had Jeremy in the game. Now, hopefully those times will get fewer and fewer. And one of the things that really upset me from what happened, the reaction to the Lakers game and even the Phoenix game, was that it was like everybody forgot how well Mikhail did with Jeremy in games 77, 78, and 79, which was, Denver, and I can't remember the other two opponents right now. In games 77, 78, and 79, Coach Mikhail played Jeremy all of the second quarter, all of the third quarter, and in one of those games, he played Jeremy all of the fourth quarter. And he might have even done that in 2 games. I think he played him in all the fourth quarter in the Denver game. So, when people come to me and they come and comment in the Lakers game, geez, McHale sucks. He's trying to blow Jeremy up. Or you're not criticizing McHale enough, Paul. What I say to you is, do you remember what happened 2 games ago? Do you remember what happened 3 games ago? And the answer seems to be no, you don't remember. But I remember. And that's the reason why I'm giving a steady analysis, and you might be reacting emotionally to one game. Again, this channel is based upon objective analysis, or as objective as it can be. And just like Jeremy's human, and his teammates are human, and his coach is human, I'm human, which means I'm going to make mistakes. I'm going to forget to cover something. I'm going to forget to criticize McHale for something. That's the way it goes. Conservative new media and Jeremy Lin are about winning. We're not about whining. If Jeremy is the athlete that I know that he is, he's going to overcome the small bumps in the road that are taking place. And I'm much more convinced of that than a lot of people seem to be. You know, Kevin McHale screwing up in the last game of the season when he's doing anything to try to win doesn't really freak me out. I expect McHale to screw up because he's not that good. But he's the coach for now. And unless somebody wants to start a petition and get McHale fired before game 1 of the playoffs, which isn't going to happen, he's going to be the coach for the next game too. Which means that there's a certain level of criticism that's good. And that might be constructive for McHale. And then beyond that level of criticism, it becomes idiocy. It becomes fanboys and fangirls that don't know what the limit is in terms of what's constructive criticism and what's not. That's my version of it anyway. So again, I want people to share their opinions. I don't need people to agree with me. I've never needed that. I think you guys know that. However, if you step up into my face with repetitive comments telling me, you're not really the #1 fan channel, Paul. You're not really doing a good job, Paul. You're missing this, Paul. Why didn't you do that, Paul? At some point, I'm going to come back at you. And that's part of what this is. And you need to know that. Again, C&M's about winning, not about whining. Jeremy's tough, we're tough. We're fair, but we're tough. Jeremy's never allowed anybody to stop him from reaching for his dreams about basketball. He's never allowed outside forces to dictate to him what he can and can't do and what he should or shouldn't do. And that's the same way I feel about the way I do my coverage. I don't care if anybody agrees with me. I don't care. I'm not here for you to agree with me. I'm here to try to give you expert analysis, whether you like it or not, as it relates to a particular game or a string of a couple of games. And that's it. That's my definition of what being the #1 Jeremy Lin fan channel is. So I don't want to hear this stuff. If you were this, you would have done this. No, I wouldn't have. You might think I would have, and I might think you're wrong. And if you keep pushing that, I'm going to crack back on you. Because I have my limits too. And you need to know that. And that's it. Now, there's a person that Chris Crocker, whatever it was, a couple of years ago, with the stuff of leave Britney Spears alone, whatever it was. Just like this isn't the #1 Jeremy Lin rear end kissing fan channel, It's also not the Leave Jeremy Lin Alone channel. If I think Jeremy did something that's off, I'm going to call him on it. If I think Jeremy Lin was outplayed by Steve Blake, then I'm going to say that. Whether or not you agree with me or not. And you can come and disagree with that, and that's cool. But have respect. Have respect. That's the way that it should be. Tell everybody, treat other people with respect. Treat the other fans with respect. When Charles from Singapore goes up and busts his butt to make a picture that almost nobody else in the audience can make, then respect that. Don't come in saying it's an awful picture and Jeremy looks terrible, because you're disrespecting Charles, which means you're disrespecting me, because I asked Charles to make the picture. I don't want to hear that. Don't say that. Think about what you're saying. That's my advice to commenters. And it's the same thing with me. You can lean on me, you can lean on me, you can lean on me, you can lean on me. If you come up and punch me in the face, then I'm going to get mad. And I think sometimes people need to realize that in what they're saying and their comments. And that's it. Yeah, like I said, look, I'm not perfect. This channel isn't perfect, and our coverage isn't perfect, but it's damn good. And I think everybody would agree with that. Even if they're Jeremy Lin fans or Jeremy Lin haters, we try to do the best that we can, game in and game out. And I'm not focused on a single game. I'm focused on Jeremy Lin's career. I'm focused on Jeremy Lin's development. I don't care if he beat the Lakers on ESPN. To me, that's that means nothing. That's like, did he beat the Bobcats and nobody saw it? I don't care. What I care about is, how's Jeremy doing? How is his health? How is his skill level? How is the coach treating him overall over a long period of time? How are his teammates treating him overall? What is Jeremy's plan to improve himself in the upcoming summer, in the years to come? Those things mean more than what happens in one particular game. And that's what I focus on. That's what this thing is focused on, because I think focusing on a long-term perspective, looking at it as a marathon and not a sprint, is the way that you best analyze anybody or anything. So you can't expect me to get as up and down about every single game as some other people might get. You can't expect me to go devote 20 minutes of every single video that's an hour long about how Harden screwed up, and then another 20 minutes about how McHale screwed up. Why? Because it's redundant. I know they're screwing up. Hopefully they're going to improve. The way that McHale showed that he improved recently in terms of how he treats Jeremy and how his minutes were given out to Jeremy. And hopefully Harden will improve, as we've seen that, like in the Memphis game and other games where he's passing the ball more. What I told you guys, but I told you this before game 81, before game 82. The end of the year games and the playoff games are different. They're not the same as most regular season games, particularly when you have a coach that's not that great, it's not that experienced, and he's dealing with a new team, a team that he doesn't know, and a team that doesn't know each other. What's going to happen in those games, in those kinds of games, is that the worst habits are going to come out. Because when people are under pressure, they fall back on their habits. And a lot of times, when they're not doing well, they fall back on their worst habits. What that means is Mikhail's going to play Jeremy too few minutes. And he's going to run more hard in iso ball, even though he shouldn't. That's a mistake. That's a mistake. And I'm happy to say that that is a mistake. But I expected that mistake. So I'm not going to freak out about it because I knew it was going to happen. You know, when James Harden is losing a game, and it's a really must-win game at this level of James Harden's development, he's going to do iso ball, even though he shouldn't. And Mikhail's going to let him do that, etc., etc., etc. I said that. I said it before those games took place. And I said it in the comments today, and I'll say it before the Oklahoma City series. I'm telling you right now, the same thing's going to happen in the Oklahoma City series. So brace yourself for that, because it's going to happen if we're not winning games. I can assure you, Mikhail's going to go with stupid lineups, and Harden's going to make stupid decisions on offense. It's coming. But again, I'm not freaking out about that because I'm looking at the bigger picture for Jeremy. I know those things are going to happen. The way that those things are going to change in the future is through a bunch more time together for this team. And so I'm hopeful because I saw Mikhail trust Jeremy more in Game 77 through Game 79. What that means is he's starting to slowly lay a foundation where maybe next year, when we get to the end of the season games or we get to the playoff games, Mikhail plays Jeremy the way he played him in Game 77 or Game 78 or Game 79. But we're not there yet. And let's be clear, who really believed we were going to be there? Now, do you really think Mikhail's smart enough or has learned enough to get there? Not, I don't. I don't expect him to do that because he's not that good. And, you know, it's only like a month or two ago when Jeremy couldn't even play in the damn fourth quarter. So this isn't a surprise. Now, that doesn't mean we shouldn't call it out because, you know, by calling it out and whatever, that will help to fix the problem. But we don't go about calling it out where I would appreciate it if we don't try to go about calling it out by coming up to me and saying, you know what, Paul, you're really not operating as a Jeremy Lin #1 fan channel because you didn't say blank. That's just garbage. It's garbage. I said, I'm nice to people. If you listen to me and my style of talking compared to like JDV, you know, JDV all the time will get stuff like, yeah, John, you're arrogant and all this, and super genius, whatever. Most people wouldn't say that about me because of how I'm much more mellow and all this stuff. But let me be clear about something. Pretty much nobody, no one listening to these videos knows more about basketball than I do. Now, I'm sure there's a few exceptions to that. You know, maybe, some NBA players or some coaches or some scouts listen to these videos, maybe, and those people would know more about basketball than I do. Everybody else doesn't know more about basketball than I do. And so if you take that assumption and you combine it with I try to be relatively objective, and I think most people would agree with that, and my ability to analyze seems pretty sound, well, then guess what? I'm probably going to give a pretty damn good analysis of what's going on. Better than most people's analysis of what's going on. As I pointed out in the comments of the JeremyLin.net interview, the reason, or one of the main reasons, why people have come to like this channel regarding Jeremy and, the coverage of Jeremy Lin is because earlier in this season, when things looked bad and Jeremy wasn't getting playing time and Jeremy's knee wasn't right and all of that, I would say things like Linsanity 2.0 is going to be coming up soon in a couple of games. I can see it. And sure, I gave people comfort. I told them what they wanted to hear as Jeremy Lin fans. But the truth is it what I said turned out to be true. And that's why people like this channel. Because I know what I'm talking about. And I'm going to give you information that's going to relate to what you're going to see. Regardless of whether you like it or not. Regardless of whether you are happy with what I'm saying. That's why this channel does well with Jeremy Lin coverage. Because people believe that I know what I'm talking about in terms of analyzing Jeremy Lin. And that's it. Like I said, that's what this is about. That's what this channel is about regarding Jeremy. And that's what being the number one Jeremy Lin fan channel means. It's not about the number one, sucking up to Jeremy. It's about the number one, here's what's happening for Jeremy. Here's what he needs to improve upon. And here's what's really going down. That's what this channel is about. And hopefully that makes sense. Like I said, I prefer to focus on Jeremy. I don't want to focus on McHale. I don't want to focus on Harden. For all we know, McHale could be gone in a year. Great. Who knows what's going to happen with Harden. What I care about is what is Jeremy doing? What can Jeremy improve upon? How is Jeremy developing? That's what I want to focus on. I don't want to focus on whine because somebody did Jeremy wrong in this particular game. But it's not productive. And anybody that's a champion in anything will tell you, you can't succeed like that. If you're spending your energy going back and forth about how somebody did you wrong and they didn't do this, guess what? You're probably losing. And you're probably a loser. You can't do it like that. You can't do it like that. And I'm not doing it that way. When the time comes to call out McHale and Harden, I'll be happy to call them out. But I'm looking at it from a larger perspective. Is McHale improving? Is Harden improving? And thankfully, the answer for those questions has been yeah. McHale showed dramatic improvement regarding Jeremy in Game 77 through Game 79. Harden, he certainly trusts Jeremy a lot more than he did at the beginning of the year. There's no question about that. They both still have a long way to go. Jeremy still has a long way to go as an individual player, but we're getting there. Hang in there. Don't let the haters and the doubters throw you off, shake you up. You want to be a weak tree in the wind. Be a strong tree. Jeremy's strong. He's gone through all the stuff and all the doubts and all of that. And he's almost there. He's almost there. So, we're going to get there. I have no doubt in my mind what Jeremy is and what he's going to become. We just have to manage our expectations and our frustrations between now and then. Would I like it better if Mike D'Antoni was the coach? Sure, it'd be great. But guess what? He's not the coach. And he's not going to become the coach. And Jeremy's not going to get traded because the owner is definitely not going to let him go. So these are all fantasy land scenarios. The most realistic scenario with that stuff is that maybe McHale's not around for a long time. But for now, McHale's not going anywhere. The team overachieved, even if it wasn't because McHale. He's not getting fired. He's not getting fired. James Harden's not getting traded. Jeremy's not getting traded. So this is what we have. This is what we're stuck with. We're either going to bitch about it or we're going to try to make the best out of it. And you know where I'm coming from. I'm going to try to make the best out of it. When the need arises to complain about McHale and Harden, then I'll do it to the best of my ability. I know what's going on. I know if they're screwing up. Just I'm not always going to focus on that. That's just, like I said, for the reasons I said, it's not productive. Don't want to whine, want to win. So that's it. Your comments below, thumbs up, thumbs down on this video. Look, I'm still going through the Oklahoma City game, the third game that the two teams played this year, because I want to look for things in there. I want to look at it again, and now that there's more time between covering it the last time, and just see if I can pick up on things that Jeremy did well, that the team did well, etc., to try to figure out what can we do to try to compete with this team in a 7-game series. It's going to be very difficult, but that's what I'm doing. That's what I'm studying. And I was able to do the JeremyLin.net interview video. I thought that was great. They did a good job with that. It's great work by them. It's really good that they were able to reach out to Doc and kind of get his thoughts. And I think it gives us a lot of support and hope about where things are for Jeremy. And it kind of helps us to understand that what we're seeing with Jeremy is what this person working close with Jeremy is seeing also. And that's good. I said, Doc criticized Harden. That's cool. It's cool. But most of what, the majority of Doc's interview was not bitching about Harden, because it's just not, it's not productive, regardless of the merits of doing so. Look, we're looking forward to it. I'm going to keep working on this Oklahoma City footage. And thanks a lot for watching Conservative New Media. We do strive to be the #1 Jeremy Lin YouTube fan channel. I am Paula Villarreal, the NBA expert. It's about 12:30 a.m. early Friday, April 19th in the United States of America on the East Coast, which means it is about 12:30 p.m. Friday, April 19th in Taipei, Taiwan, and Shanghai, China. Look, I don't want to, we're all passionate fans here, and I am too. And as I said, look, I'm a good dude. I don't think anybody would tell you any different about that. Anybody that listens to these videos or reads the comments, I go out of my way to try to be nice with people and encourage people to be nice with other people. I got my limits, just like you do, just like Jeremy does, just like everybody else does. And let's just try to respect each other. Let's try to stay positive here. Stay away from the negativity. Sometimes the negativity can be, oh my God, this is the worst coach ever. Jeremy needs to be traded tomorrow. And then repeat that game after game after game. I don't want to do that. I really don't. So if you're looking for that, this probably isn't going to be the best channel for you. I know people mentioned our guy, Andy, and Jeremy Lintel, the YouTube channel. And Andy does a great job. And they mentioned the McHale video. Oh, here's what McHale doubts Lin. Look, I could do a video like that. I don't want to do a video like that. I don't want to create drama. I want to heal drama, right? When McHale needs to get called out, I'll call him out. The same way I did in the Indiana game and the way I've done a million other times this season. But repetitive calling outs and focusing on the negative, that's not our deal. It's not what we're about. That's not what this channel is about. That's not what the Jeremy Lin coverage of this channel is going to be about. So if you want that, this isn't the place for you. And I mean, that's the easiest way I can say it. And if you think that that makes us not the #1 Jeremy Lin fan channel, then I respect your opinion. And I'm going to disagree with you. And if you make me angry enough, I'm going to really strongly disagree with you and let you know about it. And that's it. That's why I made this video. And I hope it was clear. And onwards and upwards. Like I said, we move on to looking over at the Oklahoma City footage again from the game that took place on February 20th, 2013, in which Houston came back and got one of their best wins of the season against the Oklahoma City Thunder. I hope everybody is having a great day or great night wherever you are around the world when you watch this video. Take care. We'll talk to you again soon.